I will call the President and demand that we rapidly renegotiate the CUSMA agreement. Of course, there's no guarantee with Trump. After the tariff madness that came from the White House, Mark Carney has said he will keep the legal ban on pipelines in C-69 and that he will keep the energy cap. That is economic suicide. We need to protect auto workers in Oshawa, Cambridge, Brampton, Windsor, Essex, St. Catharines, Oakville, Alliston, Woodstock, Ingersoll, and elsewhere. That's why I'm announcing today that a new Conservative government will eliminate the federal sales tax on Canadian-made automobiles. Everyone who's looking to buy Canadian, to support Canadian workers, will be able to save money as a result of this announcement. At the same time, I will push hard to end the tariff madness. On my first day on the job as Prime Minister, I will call the President and demand that we rapidly renegotiate the CUSMA agreement on a very tight timeline. That will allow us to find certainty. I will also propose that in the meantime, both sides suspend tariffs. To be clear, no counter tariffs from Canada will be removed unless and until the Americans do the same. But the argument to President Trump will be this: put aside the uncertainty, the job loss, and stock market crashes on both sides of the border. Pause the tariffs until we can hammer out a deal. Now, that deal will have to be in the Canadian interest. First and foremost, we will protect Canadian sovereignty. Certain things will be non-negotiable. We will protect our land, our water, our laws, our government, our culture, our language policies, and our borders will always be exclusively under our control. Second, we will demand an end to all tariffs, free trade, both ways. But third, we believe we can convince the Americans it's in their national and security interest to get a deal, because we will use all the proceeds of that deal, all of the economic benefits that flow into the federal coffers, to massively rebuild our military so that we can carry our weight and keep our continent safe. This will create a powerful incentive for Americans to say yes. But, of course, there's no guarantee with Trump. As we're learning, nobody in Canada can control Donald Trump, contrary to many of the suggestions and the unrealistic expectations that some have been setting. Which is why I have to make clear, and I will be making clear to President Trump, that any commitments we make that America wants to happen on defense, border cooperation, or market access can and will be instantaneously withdrawn if he violates any part of the agreement. We will only uphold our side of the bargain as long as he holds up his side of the bargain. That's how we create the leverage to protect against a president who changes his mind and breaks his word. Still, no one can control President Trump, and no one can predict what he will do. The only thing we can control is what we do here at home. And that's why the best way to stand up to President Trump is to make our economy stronger and more independent from the Americans. The economic plan I've been announcing throughout this election is to unleash our industry, to make it strong, self-reliant, sovereign, so that we can stand on our own 2 feet and stand up to President Trump. My plan will cut income taxes for all Canadians so hard work pays off for a change. We'll eliminate the industrial carbon tax so that we can bring back steel, manufacturing, aluminum, fertilizer, oil and gas, and other heavy industrial products that are the backbone of a modern economy. It will allow Canadians to allow tax-free reinvestment of capital gains, which means that companies can reinvest in beautiful factories that employ Canadian workers like this one. I just spoke to Chandra, who started up this place. All of this stuff, all these machines that these incredible workers operate, that is investment. The more of these machines, the more of these factories we have, the more powerful paychecks we will generate, and the more we will be independent from Trump. A tax-free reinvestment in Canada of capital gains will be like rocket fuel for our economy, allowing us to soar over the American economy. I will axe the sales tax off new homes to get more homes built and create more demand for the Canadian lumber that Donald Trump is attacking. Build Canadian homes with Canadian wood, supporting Canadian loggers and tradesmen. For the last 10 years, the Liberals have had their boot to the neck of our energy sector. But it's not dead yet, and my plan will bring it roaring back to life. I will relaunch our energy sector by repealing Liberal No New Pipelines Law C-69 and lifting the Liberal energy cap on to produce more energy. Mark Carney has said he will keep the legal ban on pipelines in C-69 and that he will keep the energy cap. That is economic suicide. It is another reason why President Trump has supported Mark Carney's re-election in this campaign. Not just more pipelines, but more LNG, large-scale mines, and nuclear projects. It will send hundreds of billions of dollars. If Mr. Carney goes ahead with C-69, he will be blocking pipelines, mines, nuclear plants, and other projects, sending hundreds of billions of dollars fleeing south right into the hands of Donald Trump. And it means that Western Canadians will never be able to sell their oil directly to Eastern Canadians. Instead, we'll have to keep passing our energy south at a discount and even sending energy through the American economy just to send it back to Quebec and Ontario. That is not change. That is more of the lost Liberal decade. And the choice on resources is this. After a lost Liberal decade of driving our jobs south and driving our economy under the American thumb, do the Liberals deserve a fourth term in power, or is it time to unlock our resources, bring home our jobs, and become a strong economy for a change with a new Conservative government?
Experts have predicted that Kingston will be kind of shielded from the impact of the severest impact of the tariff war, partly because we're a government town. Lots of government employees, including a large military base, as you know. But you talk about slashing government jobs and bureaucracy as part of your platform. So I want to know what you would say to those anxious federal workers in this and other communities across the country. Are their jobs safe in these uncertain times?
Yes, we've said our reductions in the federal bureaucracy will be done by attrition. We have 17,000 public servants who voluntarily leave every single year, many to retire, many to accept other job opportunities. And that allows us to reduce the cost of the bureaucracy without giving out mass pink slips. I would also add that we're going to expand our military, which will be great for Kingston because of the wonderful military footprint we have here. I think we also know that there are a lot of entrepreneurs, small businesses, manufacturing businesses like this one here, Can Coil, who will benefit from my Canada First economic plan to bring home jobs. We're going to cut income tax so that workers pay 15% less to the federal government off their paycheck. That'll support local businesses who will have richer customers buying more food and more products. We'll bring in the Canada First reinvestment tax cut, zero capital gains tax on reinvested gains so that we can grow our economy. We'll get rid of the industrial carbon tax to bring back industry jobs. We will also speed up home building. There's an enormous housing shortage here in Kingston. By axing the federal sales tax on new homes and incentivizing municipalities to speed up permits, we're going to be building homes, creating jobs for carpenters, electricians, plumbers, and others. After the lost Liberal decade of rising costs and crime and a falling economy now under America's thumb, we can't afford to give Liberals a fourth term. We need a new Conservative government that will axe taxes, build homes, unleash our resources, and bring home our jobs for a change.
Your party has dropped 4 candidates in 2 days. How can Canadians be convinced of your vetting process for people you believe are fit to govern this country? And here in Kingston, how does that vetting process extend to Mr. Patterson for his previous connection to a church that supported conversion therapy?
Well, first of all, you omitted from your question that Mr. Patterson renounced conversion therapy years ago. And so the question is not accurate. Secondly, our vetting process is stronger than all the other parties. That's why we have a zero tolerance for anyone who acts unacceptably. This is the exact opposite of what we saw from Mr. Carney, who tried to keep on as a candidate someone who had asked for his Conservative opponent to be handed over to the Chinese Communist government on a bounty, to be imprisoned or maybe murdered because he was a dissident against that government. Mr. Carney said that it was a teachable moment. He's right. It taught all of us that Mark Carney will never put Canada first. He sold out. He went to China to get a $250 million loan from the Chinese government while he was Justin Trudeau's economic advisor. He met with top officials in the central bank. He met with the mayor of Beijing. He built his own profit off of compromising himself and his company. He still has those compromises because he has money, untold millions, invested in Brookfield that owes all of this money still to the government in Beijing. So how are we going to know when he's acting for Canada rather than acting for his bottom line? And that's why I reiterate my call. Your question was about vetting. Well, Canadians should be able to vet Mark Carney's conflicts of interest by having him publish all of his financial interests so that Canadians know what interests he has that go against Canada's national interests. After the lost Liberal decade of selling out our economy, driving away our resources, taxing away our jobs, we can't afford to give Liberals a fourth term. We need a new Conservative government that will bring home the jobs to this country so we can stand up for ourselves in a position of strength for a change. Thank you.